Can incorporating baked milk or egg into my child's diet increase the likelihood of tolerance to fresh milk or eggs?
In looking at the literature, there's not uniformity and agreement on this, and part of that has to do with the patient population selected. So in the studies that we've done, where we're primarily from a tertiary center, we've compared the children that have been placed onto the baked milk product to those who decided not to do that. And being that this is a somewhat more severe population, we did see a very significant difference in the rapidity with which the children that went on the food were able to tolerate it. If you look at a general population where you don't have such severe patients, where you'd expect many of them to outgrow it, then it doesn't become as clear. But certainly in the patient population that we deal with, we've seen up to 15 times the likelihood that they would tolerate milk by 5 years of age compared to the group that we see that restricted it. Mm-hmm. So I think then the next big question, Marion, is how do they do that? This is a question we get all the time. You know, if I'm adding baked products, what kind of foods do I use?
Right. So incorporating baked milk into the diet can actually be liberating, but it can also be challenging, and there are nuances to avoidance. So when we originally designed this study, we created a recipe that had a high amount of baked milk in that muffin, because we wanted our participants to be able to not only include that baked milk muffin, but also other products that they might be able to purchase from the grocery store. And then we had a basic rule that they could incorporate any baked milk ingredient as long as it was not the first or second ingredient in an ingredient list. And our patients did very well with that. The nuances come when, you know, a product might have a baked milk ingredient, but might also have an unbaked milk ingredient. Maybe, for instance, a cake might have a baked milk ingredient, but in the icing or the filling, there may be an unbaked milk ingredient. So that would be a problem. And reading product labels don't always tell you whether the milk ingredient has been baked. So we teach our families that the product has to be a baked good. So obviously French toast is cooked on the stove. It's not baked, so that wouldn't be okay. And that you have to be careful about, you know, hidden ingredients that could potentially be unbaked. One of the problems that we see frequently are with crackers, like cheese crackers. Even from the same company, the regular cheese cracker has a baked milk ingredient. In other words, the cheese is the third or fourth ingredient in the list, and it's a baked product. But then the white cheddar flavor actually has a topically applied milk ingredient that's sprayed on after the cracker is baked. So we tell our families to use baked products like breads and cookies and muffins that have a baked milk ingredient, and then choosing crackers that are actually kind of plain, that don't have a cheese flavoring, unless they've been approved by us because we've contacted the manufacturer.
One of the other things, we see something very similar with baked egg.
Yes.
Again, you know, we saw much better or accelerated development of tolerance with baked egg in a very similar way.
Right.
But then you also get into the same nuances that you see with baked milk, where you can have combinations, again, like with the cakes, where they don't bake the egg in the icing versus...
Right. Or they brush it on at the last 5 minutes, an egg whitewash before they bake. You know, another thing that I would say about incorporating baked milk and baked egg, and the tolerance issue is part of that question. It's one thing to be able to incorporate baked milk into the diet or baked egg into the diet. It could be liberating. But if a family feels like, I have to get this into my child on a daily basis because this will help them outgrow it, it can be a burden to the family. Right. So it's like any other preventative or allergy preventative technique. We don't want to medicalize it. We just want families to feel like they can liberalize the diet.